if you look at a bell curve, right, one's over here and one's over here. And then there's this 80% here. There's this 80% in the middle of the bell curve. And those are all just students. Those are just all the other kids. And I think those other kids often go unchecked. Last week, I did a gig. It was at one of the high schools here in Long Island, New York. And it was a 9th grade assembly and a 10th grade assembly. And oftentimes at the end of the assemblies, I have students come up and they will ask questions. They'll want to take a picture. They'll just say, hey, cool job, whatever, and just kind of chop it up. And I had one student come up to me, and it was interesting. And it was the thought process for this video today. And I found some other stories too that I want to share with you. And the student kind of said, I really like your talk today. Thank you so much for coming. I really want to do what you do. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, he wants to be a speaker. He wants to inspire people. He wants to tell a story. But what he said next was interesting. He said, I want to speak to people so they can finally listen to me, so I can finally be heard. And I was like, I don't think you necessarily want to be a speaker. I think you want people to hear you for what you have to say. And that was about the end of the conversation. There really wasn't too much. A couple other little things that I was trying to help him work through. But that really stuck with me because I was like, that's so interesting. What does that mean? What is making this student tick? And then throughout this planning process of this video, I was also thinking about some other stories about my teaching career. And there's been many times where I've come across a situation like this. For instance, more of a comical, I guess, not so much comical for the student's sake, but comical in the fact that, we can look at this with rose-colored glasses, I guess. There was when I was teaching band in it was a 4th grade student, and this little girl was so cute. She was very sweet, not all, there was something socially off. She was a very smart kid, and I'm sure she did fine in school, but there was something socially off. And a lot of times, you would say something to her and just take a second to process. So she'd kind of have that blank stare, all right. And one day I was trying to talk to the kids about practicing. And I look back on this time in my life, and I look back on it with definitely some regret. Not so much so because it just is what it is, and I did the best I could, but regret in the fact that the amount of stress that I had turned myself into a really bad teacher. And not necessarily was a bad educator, but I was a bad teacher because what I mean by that is that my level of patience, my level of understanding what it was like to teach a 4th grade student, a 9-year-old, was not there. I had very little patience, and I had different expectations of what a 9-year-old should be doing. I had different expectations of what my job as a teacher was to do with these kids. Either way, coming back to this one student, I forgot her name, but she just started crying. And I just felt so bad because I had no idea that she was upset. I had no idea that she was stressed. I had no idea that she was worried. I had no idea that she was possibly afraid of me. And I could think of so many different stories of my interaction with students, either as a teacher or as a speaker. And I've come to this conclusion that we really don't know what is going on in a student's head. Today is not going to be an episode where we're going to have 3 tips to this and a process for that. It's going to be a conversation with you and me and maybe one challenge. But I think this is more about awareness, because you probably know it and you probably realize it, but you're in your day-to-day and you're just trying to make things happen. And it's hard. It's really hard because we don't know what's going on in our students' minds. We don't know what makes them tick. And I think the real issue here is this. Our time and attention is being eaten up by the students who obviously need an incredible amount of help. They need an incredible amount of resources and time. Now, when I say help, that means the student that needs academic help, as well as the student who is a disruptive class clown or whatever it may be. Either way, those 2 types of students need our time and attention and our resources. And then we have another group. We have the student who is doing phenomenally. And if we have some extra time, we want to try to make sure that those students are being challenged enough. So we're doing extra things there. But these are 3 different groups, and they're on different axes. They're on different ends of the spectrum, right? If you look at a bell curve, right, one's over here and one's over here. And then there's this 80% here. There's this 80% in the middle of the bell curve. And those are all just students. Those are just all the other kids. And I think those other kids often go unchecked. I don't have to tell you, students today are way too stressed, overwhelmed, and anxious about their lives and their futures. This is why I do what I do. As a youth speaker, I teach students to step back from the situation, see the choices they have in front of them, make great decisions, and build positive patterns around this process. Whether it's substance abuse, bullying, or stress about their digital lives, the students I've worked with have had some great success. So I want to work with your students. I want to come down to your school and your event and actually teach your students the art and the science of making great decisions. So click the link below and schedule your call with me so I can learn a little bit more about what you're looking for in your next speaker. They go missed. Missed? That's not a thing. But they go without, because we just assume that, yeah, they're doing fine. They're doing this is the thing. They come into class and they do the homework. It's fine. They're getting decent grades. Yeah, everything's cool. Now, again, if you are a teacher, you are not a psychologist, okay? And if you are a psychologist, you may be only 1 or maybe even 2 for an entire building. So you can only do so much. I understand that. But I think it's really an interesting conversation, because this middle bell curve, this 80% of our students who don't get discovered, if you will, right? We know them, of course, we know their names, we might know their hobbies, but really understanding what makes them tick, what makes them come alive, what makes them work, what are their dreams and aspirations, what are their fears and worries. Now, we may not ever know this. I mean, in a secondary setting, we see each kid 40 minutes a day. We may not ever really be able to get to know our students like that as much as, say, an elementary setting. But I think it's worth a shot. I think it is worth the challenge. And that's my challenge to you. Today, my challenge is to try to figure out what every single one of your students what makes them tick. Because I can tell countless stories about all the times I was either surprised or in the dark about a student's real true feelings or their real true personality or their real true identity. It's just we don't have enough time and resources. So my ask of you today is to try your best to try to figure out what every student, what makes them tick and what makes them come alive. And I think there are many ways to do this. I think trying to make sure that we are setting up things that are outside of the norm. And what I mean by that is keeping things alive and different. If you are a math teacher and you just talk about math every day, day in and day out, it's going to be really hard to get to know your students because there's only going to be so much connection that can be made through the Pythagorean theorem. But, for instance, if you take a look at what my buddy does, Kevin Heathwood, what he does with his band is that every single Monday, no matter what, he will devote, say, about 10 full minutes, maybe sometimes 5, but sometimes 10 full minutes to the entire period. And what he does is he calls it Monday Musings. And basically, it's a topic that either him or one of the other students wants to bring up and talk about. And usually, this is in regards to mental health. Sometimes it's in regards to professional development or career choices or paths. Other times, it could just be fun, silly things. But it's an opportunity for him to have discussions with his kids that are outside the realm of band and music. So if it's something as simple as Monday Musings, whatever it may be, you want to create an environment where you can uncover that special sauce, that special thing that makes your students alive. Because this is so important, because once you can understand what makes a kid tick, even just developing that relationship a little more, that reciprocity for the student's sake will want them to do better in your class. It's the truth. They want to do better for you, not because they want to learn math more efficiently or be a better mathematician. They want to make you happy. Yes, of course, they want to get the good grades that they want, but they're just doing it for you because they know that you respect them and you see them and you hear them. If you were like me and you're just saying, "Why didn't you practice? What are you doing? Are you kidding me? You didn't get I don't have to do this. I don't have to play flute. Forget it. I'm out. I quit." So, this one conversation that this student came up to me after my program and had really unleashed an interesting realization. We don't know our kids. We don't know our kids as well as we can. And to put one more thing on your plate, like you didn't need already, I think if we can create some type of system, even just a weekly system, to have those opportunities to get to know them better and get to know them deeper, will help in the long run. Not only will help the students' grades in your class, but it'll help them become the best version of themselves and your relationship with them. That's my conversation today, and that's my my question to you. So I would love to hear from you if this makes sense, and if you agree. Do you agree that you don't necessarily know all of your students? Do you feel like that would be beneficial to you as well as them? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you like it, then hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell notification to be notified every time I release a new video. And if you like today's episode, you might also like this one right over there.